And unfortunately, there was just this distance. There was just this lack of a bond, really, between the two of us, and the lack of intimacy became more and more apparent, and his relationship with Milena continued to strain, and my mom interceding in our relationship. And I made a huge mistake. At that time. Started hanging out with a friend of mine from years before, and Nick ended up catching me, and it was extremely difficult to look back at a situation. And of course, if you actually do learn the lesson, you look back at a situation, it's like, I really wish I would have done things differently than I did. Anybody who has actually ever been in this situation can probably relate to this part of it. Nobody really ever talks about this, but it's actually, it's difficult, because when somebody holds onto a wound, especially if you have a child with them, and gone through the healing process, you've learned the lesson. Like, you're not even the same person anymore, and people want to put a stronghold on you from their wound, because I have compassion for that, but at the same time, it's like, you're not going to hold me prisoner to this mistake I made a decade ago. All you can do is continue to make the right choices and allow them to understand what their lesson was through that experience as well. But if somebody doesn't have the self-awareness for the healing in that process, not look for some way to be grateful. And I understand in the moment that's very difficult to do. And I will never not own the mistake I made in that. And of course, I knew right away that I made a mistake, that I shouldn't have handled things the way that I did, and it deeply hurt Nick. And I took no enjoyment out of hurting him, like, whatsoever. And I knew it was gonna hurt more than just him. I knew it was gonna hurt my daughter, and it was gonna hurt his family. People would be disappointed with me. I understood that. Didn't put as much value on intimacy and that emotional connection, and that's part of why I do what I do. And it's unfortunate that, the people in my life can't really see the ways in which I give honor. Not only do I go through the cycle of healing and I'm accountable for the mistakes that I've made, but that's a part of how I honor my previous connections and all of that, and helping people understand trauma bonds and codependency and honoring your own needs and healthy boundaries. Part of how we also make amends. And God really loves that. I'll tell you that. God really loves that. God loves to see that not only did you take away the lesson that you were meant to learn in any experience, but that you bring love to that experience. And you bring love to yourself by not only healing yourself, but then you share that with other people. And that's truly what it means to be anointed with the Holy Spirit. I had to do a lot of prayer at that time and sit with God and ask God, what's the right move to make here? Having my daughter's father had passed away, I didn't want to break up another family. I didn't want to be raising two kids on my own now too. And I spent a good amount of time with it. But ultimately what I arrived at was that I would be also still hurting Nick if I tried to stay with him. Because at that point, it would have been for the same reasons. And I wasn't even going to be capable of honoring his needs either, because I wasn't honoring my own. And I didn't even know what mine were at the time. But it wasn't about a physical intimacy, the reason that I ended up connecting with somebody from the past. It wasn't a full-blown affair or anything like that either. But it was more just about feeling connected. I felt pretty isolated in our relationship, and after communicating that and not getting anywhere with it, but at the same time not wanting to disappoint the kids and not wanting to disappoint him and not wanting to hurt him, but there was, and I think a lot of people get to that point. And when I was considering how we would move forward, would we try to stay together, and I had already been dishonest, and so I didn't want to continue to be dishonest. And I would have had to continue to be dishonest to continue to stay in our relationship. And I spent a lot of time in prayer, a lot of time in meditation at that time as well. And just kind of deciding what was the right thing to do. And I knew that it wasn't going to be fair to Nick. And I know it would be hard for anybody, especially when, right in the moment. There's no way I could have said that to him, but I was hoping down the road that he would at some point realize that it was out of love that I was going to shoulder the burden. Like I was going to shoulder and take the full weight of the consequences of my actions. I have to do whatever it takes to get through that. And as tough as it's going to be to have a house and 2 kids and all of that, I'm going to have to figure it all out. We agreed at that time to always put William first. That we would share parenting and William would always be the number one priority, that we would not let what happened between us affect William. And William was still young. I think he was like 2.5 or 3 at the time. So I wanted Nick to have as much of a presence in William's life, as he always did. I never saw myself in, more important to our son than Nick was. When you raise a child without a father, you have a different level of respect for the influence of a father on a child's life. And a lot of people don't have a lot of value on that, but also losing my own dad at 14. So as much as Nick and I really were not compatible at all, we both love our son. We both love our son very much, and he's very blessed to have 2 parents that literally adore him. And that's another part of what makes this entire situation. If there's when I tell you everything that I have gone through and what's currently happening in my existence right now, I have to go through it like this so you understand. Trust me, it's really not fun for me to have to go through all of these details, but this is going to probably be the last time I talk about a lot of these things. I'm ready to release, and so this is also a release for me as well. I was thinking about this morning about writing a book, just a little sidebar here. And I got to thinking about whether I actually will or not. And if it's kind of painful for me to talk through some of this stuff, and it's not painful because that's how you're healed. It's a little bit of a snooze fest, and it sounds really messed up. I'm not talking about it. It's if you knew how far separated I was from all of these situations. But what's wild, and when I get to where I'm at right now, it is wild to me that these are still strongholds that people are trying to put on me currently, and in some way weaponized. I have no idea. It makes no sense to me whatsoever, but it's actually happening. And unfortunately, again, when you come away with the wisdom from the experiences, that's the part that helps people heal. And I think so many people are just used to a more dramatic expression because they want validation for their experience. And I don't need validation for that experience. I healed from that experience. I took accountability. I know it was wrong, but I also recognize but for that situation, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And Nick is married now, so I would have hoped that he would have gotten there as well, but it doesn't seem like he has. And unfortunately, what's happening right now is what's happening right now, and it's making me have to revisit this in this way, because I actually, at this point, need help. One, because again, I'm in a digital prison, but I don't know who is behind all of this, and it's I don't know what these people want from me. It's I don't know what else to do here. If the police and the FBI won't help you, and you're blocked, they're using cyber jammers, intercepting your data, intercepting your regular mail. It's is anybody going to do anything here? They shut down my platform, so I can't even speak about what's happening. So I have to basically start over again from start and hope that this is what does the trick. And I don't know. I've never like collected donations or anything like that on any social media platform. But again, like they cut the brakes on my car, and they knew I was door dashing. It's like that's how desperate they are to see me destitute. And it's like I don't know if they think that if they get me completely blocked from any ability to travel, from any ability to make money, that I will be more open to something, or that I'll just take myself out. It sounds insane, I know, but that's why I need help. Like, screw these people. You don't want to tell the truth, you don't want to take accountability, then I will just put it, I'll just put it out. I'll invite the collective, I'll invite and humbly request that people who have expertise beyond mine go ahead and investigate it. And because I know that even though they've gone to all of this effort, I haven't done anything wrong. I have the truth on my side, and I have facts on my side. And there's no reason this should be happening to me. So I have no problem with anybody investigating me whatsoever. Like, I'm inviting people. That's why I'm giving all of these details. So they can see, like, the monstrosity that has been allowed to go on. And because of who's connected to it and what it potentially could mean in the bigger picture, especially what's out in the media right now. Because on top of making sure that I spend some time to truly understand how things got to where they are, and really trying to evaluate where I was at, that I would make that choice to do that to Nick, and to recognize in anybody who is in any kind of trauma bond, or anytime you're around like narcissists, and this is a part of what is so scary about what's happening in our world right now. And I don't know if people really realize this. The narcissist really does feed off of you. And anybody who's been a codependent, or you've been in any kind of, even a toxic job, if the environment is not reciprocal, like meaning it's not feeding your soul, or there's not like a reciprocation, like you don't enjoy the work you're doing, you don't enjoy the friendships, you don't enjoy whatever it is that you're doing, your relationship, your job, like it's taking from you. And that's why you feel so drained. And you have to make the choice. You have to make the choice to make a different decision. But a part of why I was starting to feel very apathetic right around 2020, through COVID, obviously, was people were getting sick, people were calling off of work. I was getting pushback about not getting vaccinated. I just came to a point where it's like, he is going to have to, like, this is just going to take some time for him. Like, I'm really just going to have to be patient and hope that he sees that there doesn't have to be animosity between the two of us. And I probably even still then did overcompensate, and I didn't even recognize that I was doing it. My need for him not to stay angry at me forever, I still was overcompensating. And we do this as codependents. Again, the energy is always with you until you heal it. It's a wound. So I would make certain choices based off of that. Like when he got his second DUI, and I would drive our son back and forth, and he had moved across town, bought a house across town, and okay. And then he didn't pay much in child support. He paid, I think, like, it's like $200 every 2 weeks or something like that. It might have been less than that at that time, but he was always very like, he was very butthurt about having to pay child support. Like, he just did not want to have to pay child support. He thought it was wrong. But like, I had a whole mortgage in a suburb, multiple kids, and I would buy all of our son's like things. And that's not to say that Nick didn't. He did. He had a full bedroom for William at his house, and he would keep groceries in the house, but like clothes, school supplies, the health insurance, like all of that was in my name. And it is like, I never asked Nick for anything like additionally. And it's like, if he needed something, he had it. And it's like, it's not like I was out doing like full glam on my $200 every 2 weeks, Took a lot of issue with it though. Like there was always something for him to be upset about. It's like it never ended. Point, my HVAC needed to be replaced in the house, and so we made a little arrangement with that. All of this is going to be relevant later though. Okay, so I'm not just doing all these sidebar little things there. It's all going to become relevant. It all ties together. I just have to tell it in this order. But at some point my HVAC needed replaced, and I didn't have the capital to have it. I needed a full system. Right up his alley. He flipped houses and stuff at that time, so he had all of the connections and stuff. And so I reached out to him, and we made like a little arrangement where he would give me the capital for that, and then he would pay to have, you know, the entire HVAC done because he had the capital for it. And then every 2 weeks I would give him back the child support as like a payment towards that. Now, this is where it gets a little bit dicey, because down the road I found out that where he wasn't actually being completely honest. I'm sure he was going to start getting his get backs at me. I didn't know this at the time, obviously. But I also had started dating Ryan, who was definitely my karma. Very clear, and especially now in retrospect, looking back, as like, God wanted me to get that lesson, like all the way, get that lesson to heal, because you're going to keep attracting these people until you do. And Ryan was very terrible to me. He was very terrible to me. Ryan was straight trauma bond, like exhaustion, depletion, like the diminishing and undervaluing of myself, not only from what I had already tolerated, but then like punishing myself for what I had done to Nick and the kids. Like I took on so much of that, like punishing myself for that I actually ended up attracting the devil himself. Every narc joined hands to form a fence around me, and I need an army to come rescue me, basically, because they actually are trying to take me out. My job and the pandemic and the misalignments just across the board, you know, my job giving me the pushback about not wanting to get vaccinated, and my mother and my daughter, like her trying to pull this like triangulation thing, and my daughter just getting super disrespectful. And then Nick started dating for the first time since we had separated. So he was single for about like 4 years or whatever. So it was just him and William that entire time. And, you know, William loves dad. He loved being with his dad at that time. He always had a great time with his dad. And Nick was a great dad. Like, I never worried about William's safety when he was with Nick, like ever. You know, I knew he would like read him stories at night and sit in the chair with him. Like Nick was a very doting dad at that time. You know, he's always been very proud of William and just like loves being a dad. Like, I can't take that away from him. I don't know what's happened to this man. Like, I seriously don't know. I'm concerned for him. I feel like I'm in a nightmare. Mainly because my son is with them. I got off to a bad start, but it wasn't anything necessarily at the time that I thought was her. The connections around me were built off of this like codependency and this overgiving and not knowing my own or honoring my own needs, not ever getting the support that I needed, not ever getting even the validation and the honor that I deserved or I needed. Continuing to try to love myself through it. I did get into competitive bodybuilding at that time as well, and that was a great outlet for me. That was a way that I could dedicate time just for myself and continue to prove to myself that I do value myself. That year through 2020, I actually did it through the pandemic as well, and my coach and everything, like that was such a crucial part of my healing and being able to make it through that timeline of the ending of a 25-year veterinary career, ending 3 or 4 year on and off trauma bond